Today's topic of presentation is pseudophakic refraction. In this part 1, we will cover the obstacles related to the difficulties in pseudophakic subjective testing. And there are few important points that we have to consider before going into the jumping into the subjective testing of this kind of patients. So let's see one by one. Why is it difficult? The subjective testing of pseudophakic eyes is difficult because we are disturbing the normal physiology. Because we are replacing the intraocular lens, which is very thin compared to the natural lens. The natural lens has a thickness of about 4 millimeter, while our intraocular lens, which we are replacing, has thickness of about just 1 to 1.5 millimeter, depending upon the refractive index of the material which is used for the production of the intraocular lens. So we are changing the physiology of the eye, and most of the autorefractometer are made according to the natural eye, in keeping mind the anatomy of the natural eye with a phakic lens of about 4 millimeter. There are few more points which we have to consider before going into the detail. The intraocular lens which is implanted inside the eye, that may be spherical or that may be aspheric. We don't know. As an optometrist, whenever you come across this kind of patient, many a times patient will not bring any record, and this will give no idea about which kind of lens is implanted in the eye of the patient. As you see, in spherical lenses, there are multiple focal points are generated, and the quality of vision is slightly less sharper compared to the aspheric lens, because in aspheric lens, all the rays are focused at one single point, and that will give excellent clarity of vision. So what happens that in case of spherical lens, as there are many focal points, this kind of patient sometimes reads 6 line, but this 6 line is not as clear as in patient with the aspheric IOL, especially when the IOL is of higher diopter. The value of higher order aberration changes. And for example, if you compare the 10 diopter intraocular lens, spherical versus aspheric, then there is no significant difference. And less than 5 diopter of intraocular lens company are not manufacturing, because spherical and aspheric lenses are almost equal in design. But as the power increases for a patient having 25 or 30 or 35 diopter of IOL, the spherical and IOL induces so much amount of spherical aberration that will produce degradation of the image, while the same 30 to 35 diopter of aspherical IOL will make a sharper image because of low amount of aberration. And the asphericity is also different with different IOL. Some companies are making IOL with zero asphericity, while the other companies are making IOL with the minus asphericity to compensate the positive asphericity of the cornea. So positive aberrations of the cornea, spherical aberration of cornea, will be neutralized by the negative spherical aberrations of the IOL. That is the concept, and that neutralization of the corneal aberration by IOL aberration will give you perfect zero aberration, and that will be very much needful for the quality vision and development of a quality image on to the retina. So that is about spherical and aspheric IOL. Centering may not be perfect. This is one of the important reason. That is, in one study, it has been said that almost 28% of the IOL get decentered over a period of time. And this decentration, as you can see in this image, the IOL is actually decentered, but that will you will able to know only when you dilate the pupil. Otherwise, in the center, you can see the pupil size which I have made in the red dotted line. You can see when you examine with the torchlight or the slit lamp, you will not get the idea that the IOL is decentered. And this decentered IOL will induce significant amount of astigmatism, prismatic effect, and deterioration of the quality of image, and that will not allow you to achieve the 6.6 or the 6.9 vision. This patient might be land up with 6.12 or 6.9 partial vision with maximum correction if everything is normal inside the eye, including optic nerve and the retina. The another important reason is the eccentric pupil. See, I have drawn the normal size pupil, but because of some intraoperative complication or the tendency of the iris to get involved due to certain manipulation, will change the size of the pupil and the position of the pupil. So even though the center of the cornea is this in the center, and previous pupillary size may be the dotted line, but the now the actual pupil is decentered from the center. And this is also one of the important reasons that even if the IOL is centered, the image is going through the upper half of the IOL. So here we are not knowing the position of the IOL. So this is also one of the important reason which is an obstacle for better clarity of the vision. I am not very much fond of multifocal IOL because every time you cannot achieve this kind of centration, and most of the time the intraocular lens with multifocal IOL also get decentered. This is heavily decentered. You can see in the green I have indicated this is a pupil, while in the red the actual multifocal IOL in place. So you can see all the rings are seen on the left side, and so the vision quality will be significantly deteriorated with multifocal IOL, as you can understand from the design of the IOL. So it is decentered temporally, so the nasal area is clear. This can cause diplopia also sometimes. The aphakic area will give different image, and the phakic area or the pseudophakic area will give a different image. So this is also a difficult situation where to get the proper refraction of the patient. The more complex IOL are implanted in the eye, that they will give you more complex eye eye structure or the optical uh, eye, which is may not be giving a quality image onto the retina, and that will lead to deterioration of the image, and you will not be able to achieve the 6 by 6 vision. So these are the multifocal or extended depth of focus IOL or the toric IOL. This works best when there is a perfect centering, but complexity of vision increasing with decentering or the tilt. In this image, you can see the IOL is tilted on the back side, while in the lower image, you can see it is perfectly in the center. This was taken photograph on the anterior segment OCT. So this kind of positioning of the intraocular lens will produce significant visual deterioration. Another important point is effective lens position. The position of the intraocular lens from the cornea. This will differ in different person, and axial length also changes over a period of time even after implanting an intraocular lens. So suppose this is a 4 millimeter thick cataractous lens, and when you remove the cataract, there are some anterior and posterior forces applicable onto the intraocular lenses, and that will decide the final position of the intraocular lens from the cornea. But this final position may be different in different individuals. Suppose you are removing a 4 millimeter cataractous lens, So for the intraocular lens, there are four positions available, and at which position the intraocular lens will be stabilized, that depends upon the forces, internal forces of the eye, of the aqueous humor and the vitreous. The balance between the aqueous humor and the vitreous humor will decide the final position of the intraocular lens. And some ciliary muscle tone and zonular strength will also play part on this. And this will lead to change in the refraction over a period of time also. There are different IOL design available: one loop design, multi-piece design, single piece design. Haptic angulation, that is optic haptic junction, is made with a 5-degree angulation or zero angulation, or it can be offset haptics. The haptics are in different plane than the IOL. Then there can be a plate haptic IOL or plate loop IOL or anterior chamber in IOL, depending upon the individual intraocular lens pattern. The effective lens position also changes, and that will affect the final refraction. Senile miosis, a pinhole effect. If the pupil is on the right, just like a pinhole, and this time you will not get any autorefractive reading, and the pinhole effect can correct sometimes 3 to 6 diopter of refractive error. It has been said that a pinhole can correct up to 6 diopter of the spherical error and 3 diopter of the astigmatic error. So if the pupil is pinhole, then you will not get any reading. So that this will make your subjective testing difficult, and many a times patient has good vision without glasses. But the pupil is larger in size, you will get some AR reading as on the left figure, and accordingly we have to plan our subjective testing. You can see with pupil size of 7 millimeter, the depth of focus is less, so you can read only one letter in the center, while these letters are slightly front and behind. The zero diopter and the refractive error is mentioned with this lens, but the pupil size will affect. If the pupil size is of 3 millimeter, then you can have almost similar vision with or without addition of plus or minus 0.25 diopter spherical. So pupil size changes blur tolerance. Even with 1 millimeter pupil size, it can tolerate up to 0.75 diopter of spherical also. So what to do? Go with the basics. This kind of vision patient might have, and you have to clear it with subjective testing. It's a time consuming process, because if pupil is perfect and round regular and in center, you are likely to get accurate reading on autorefraction. And also autorefraction will match with autokeratometry in cylinder and axis. So if these are matching, these are the two good points which goes in our favor, and we can take judgment according to it. But if these are not matching, the situation is slightly confusing for us. So what to do? Use available instrument first. Like 3 points we have to keep in mind. We have to take reading on autorefraction, we have to take reading on autokeratometry, and this same instrument which we are using for AR and AK will give us idea of pupil size also. So if pupil size is small, then we are likely to get the target early with refraction, but that must be with caution. And if the pupil size is larger, then we have to do some exercise, and we have to show more lenses to the patients to get the accurate result. As I have told you, if AR and AK cylinder and axis are matching, then it is useful. And for AR, you have to use IOL mode sometimes available in latest equipments. कुछ instrument में recently they have added IOL mode. If you are not getting reading on regular mode, then you have to switch over to the IOL mode and click the readings, and that will give you few readings. This is
देखिए दिखा
also true with the small size pupil. Now, after getting these three readings, what we have to do is we have to note down unaided visual acuity first with pinhole visual acuity. And what will it give? With pinhole visual acuity, we will get the idea that whether the patient will improve his refraction or his visual acuity with refraction or not, that we have to decide. So if pinhole vision is not improving, then it is unlikely to get improvement with refraction also. So the unaided visual acuity will guide us that what amount of refractive error is there in that particular eye of the patient. Usually lines not readable into 0.25 is equal to
हाँ
amount
अच्छी
of
आती है
refractive error in spherical equivalent. For example, if the unaided visual acuity is 6 by 36 and with pinhole it is 6 by 6 partial, so patient is not reading 5 lines, that is of 6, 24, 18, 12, 9 and 6. So 5 lines into 0.25, it is equivalent to 1.25. So it can be a plus or a minus spherical equivalent which you can get approximately from this judgment. As the vision with pinhole is getting 6 by 6 partial, it is likely to be improved by subjective testing. So on this mark, we will go ahead with the residual deficit to correct with the lenses. Now this, we have to decide whether the patient is hyperopic or myopic. So after taking 636 vision, which patient can able to read, with 636 in place, we have to give plus half lens and minus half lens and ask the patient which is better. Patient will guide you. If plus is better, then patient is hyperopic. If minus is better, then patient will be myopic. If AR and AK cylinder and axis are matching, try that cylinder to check the improvement in vision. Similarly, for example, instead of zero point 0.5 and minus zero point 0.5 spherical, you can try plus one cylinder and minus one cylinder if your autoref is showing one or two diopter of cylinder and the axis indicated in that particular AR and AK reading. If not available, then take guidance of patient. After putting plus zero point 0.5 and minus zero point 0.5, if patient says plus is better, then try plus 1. But if patient says minus is better, then try minus 1. Patient will guide you further. So this will go on with the patient's guidance only. Now you can achieve improvement by adding more and more plus or minus lenses depending upon the requirement. And if AR and AK readings are available, then you can use that particular cylinder also. But if it is not available or AR and AK reading are highly variable, that means there is very much large difference. The keratometry is showing suppose one diopter cylinder while the IOL showing is two diopter cylinder. Keratometry is showing cylinder at 180 degree and auto refraction is showing two diopter cylinder at some odd degree of 40 degree, then they are not matching. Then what you have to do? This time you have to use minimum sphere for best visual acuity. So what will you do? with to achieve the best visual acuity, whatever spherical you have to achieve. For example, with minus 0.75 diopter spherical, you have achieved 612 vision. Now it is not improving with minus 1, minus 1.25. So you come to know that there is some amount of cylinder. Now you have to put a stenopic slit on it and rotate it. So at one particular axis, it will give clear 612, or sometimes it will give you 69 also. And on opposite axis it will be completely blurred. So instead of 612, patient will not able to read 612 now. It will patient will say 618 is clear, 612 is getting blurred. So this way you can decide the axis of the cylinder, and on that particular axis now you have to try the cylinder. Now what amount of cylinder you have to use is depending upon the deficit of the visual acuity. For example, in this case, 612 is already achieved with minus 0.75 diopter spherical. So two lines are remaining. So two lines are equivalent to zero point 0.5 spherical equivalent. So you can use maximum one cylinder to correct the rest of the residual refraction. So either you can try 0.75 or one diopter of cylinder, and that will give you the final judgment. Now bracketing. So you got some spherical and some cylinder. Now you have to try different spherical and spherocylinder combination to achieve 6.9. For example, minus 1.25 diopter spherical equivalent has been decided as our previous example. Now minus 1.25 diopter spherical equivalent has the following option. The 5 option which I have written here all have spherical equivalent of minus 1.25. That is spherical with minus 1 with minus 0.5 diopter cylinder, minus 0.75 spherical with minus 1 cylinder, zero point 0.5 with 1.5 cylinder, and 0.25 with minus 2 cylinder. All this variety of refraction has spherical equivalent of 1.25. So as we have already achieved a minus 0.75 spherical, we are going to try a cylinder of 1 after getting axis with stenopic slit. But the patient is happy with minus 0.5 with minus 1.5 cylinder, and that will give you 6.9 vision. Now you have to further titrate it to get the 6 by 6 vision. So after achieving 6.9, titrate further with adjacent spherical and cylinder and rotate axis of cylinder to achieve 6 by 6. For example, in this patient we have achieved 6.9 with minus 0.5 with minus 1.5 cylinder at particular axis, and try following. Once keep the cylinder of 1.5 in place and slightly reduce or increase 0.25 diopter of spherical. So instead of 0.5 diopter, you can point minus 0.75 or minus 0.25. And once you have to fix the 0.5 diopter spherical and decrease the cylinder by 0.25 or increase it. So in the lower two parts, we are keeping the spherical of 0.5 same, while we are changing the cylinder by 0.25. And in this way, we are finally achieving 6 by 6 with minus 0.25 with minus 1.5 cylinder, and that will give you final conclusion. But that you have to check the axis by rotating the cylinder in place. So finally, after achieving that 0.25 and minus 1.5 cylinder, you have to rotate the axis of the cylinder to get the best clarity. And at this time, you have to be very sure that the cylinder put in place has a axis matching with the glass inside. कभी कभी क्या होता है, ट्रायल लेंस के सिलेंडर में लेंस घूम जाता है. The lens gets rotated inside the frame of that particular cylinder glass, and that will give you chances of error in refraction testing of that particular lens. So for that we have to clean the lens by a pin rolling fashion. Pin rolling fashion is a very specific uh, type of movement of the our index finger with the thumb to clean the lens. When you have a small pin, આપણે જેને ટાકણી કહીએ, that you have to take in your finger and thumb, and you have to rotate this. That is a pin rolling movement, and this pin rolling movement is important to clean your all lenses. So you have to make a habit of cleaning the lens with a cloth in a pin rolling fashion. So that will give you the axis stabilization and less chances of rotation of cylinder in the trial case of a particular house of that cylinder. So that is the finalization of the cylinder. Now you have to check the near addition. Near addition may be different in both eyes, because there can be one eye pseudophakic or one eye phakic. Both the eye pseudophakic, both the eye have different lenses, either spherical, one has spherical and other has aspheric, and there are many other uh, parameters existing in that particular eye. So in virgin eye you can test the near addition simultaneously in both the eyes in presbyopic cases after 40 years. But in case of pseudophakic eye, you have to test near addition monocularly and then show them binocularly and then adjust binocularly also. So this is a one guideline or letters given or chart given, that if you can read this, you need to have this much amount of addition in your glasses. If you cannot read the first line, you need to have a plus 3.5 diopter addition. And if you cannot read the last line, you just need a plus 1 diopter of addition for reading. So these are the two important topics and cautions which we will discuss in our next session. But till then, I would request you all to go through these points which I have talked today. And meanwhile, if you have any query, I can take your questions. And this is our part 1 of the pseudophakic refraction.